Well, good morning everybody, and thank you so much for joining us once again. So we're just sitting out here in the garden. It's quite a beautiful spring day. Not too sunny, but when the sun does come through the clouds, it is really bright and beautiful. And it's quite warm, which has been very pleasant the last few days. So we're having a really slow morning. Sophie has been for her grooming this morning, so she's looking really beautiful. I always think she looks so smashing when she's been for a groom. She just looks like a completely different dog. And sometimes when I think she's looking a little bit old, she has her hair cut and she looks like a puppy again. So she's looking beautiful and fresh, and she's definitely got a little bit of a spring in her step. So I think she's feeling pretty great too. So Sophie's groomer is about half an hour in the car away from Edinburgh. And so when I take her to be groomed, instead of driving all the way back and then going all the way back there, I often go to the garden centre, which is very close. So I did that this morning while Sophie was having her groom, and I bought a few things. So I'm going to, as it's such a beautiful morning here, I'm going to plant out some of the new things that I've bought. You can see here that I've got 2 foxgloves. So I'm going to pot these up. I got foxgloves last year as well, and I just loved the impact that they had on the patio. I bought 2 beautiful new pots, and I've also bought some lavender, and I'm going to underplant these bay trees so that they look a bit more spruced up and have a little bit of a spring-summer refresh. So I'm really happy to be here in the garden on this gorgeous spring day. Just makes me so grateful to be living in the UK when we have days like this where it's not too hot. You can actually be outside and enjoy, but also get to see some warmth and some sunshine. I'm really, really glad to have my little garden space. I've been thinking on and off for about a year whether I should move out of this flat and go to a ground floor without a garden, but when I get to do the garden, makes me realise why I wanted to live in a basement flat. So I'm definitely staying here, and I absolutely love it. I'm also looking after Peggy today, Nathan Rowlinson's dog. She mostly likes to stay indoors on the sofa where she's snoozing, so she's very relaxed and happy. So she might show her face later on, but we'll see. So yes, I just thought that I'd have a lovely day planting the garden. I also want to show you some new prints that I've bought. They are for the kitchen, so I'm going to do that. And yeah, we'll just have a lovely day here in Edinburgh. So I just wanted to show you the new plant pots that I got. These are terracotta pots, and I think terracotta pots can be really expensive. These ones, quite large, these were £29, and I liked them because they have this engraving around the edge, Yorkshire flower. I can't see what that says, but it's very pretty, and I liked the ribbed design in that as well, which just gives it a little bit more interest. But I think these are going to age really beautifully, and yes, they are a good size, and they're a bit different from just a regular normal terracotta pot, which is why I was drawn to them, and they were the last 2 available, so I'm glad that I managed to get them. And then, as I mentioned, I've got a little bit of lavender. What I love about lavender is the way that it attracts the bees. I mean, I've only been out here for like 10 minutes and I've already seen some of the bees coming on here. So when they're planted into the bay trees there, I think it's just going to grow and look so beautiful and add some much needed colour to the garden. Now you may see here the willow trellis. I've just popped that there. I've had that for quite a while, but I popped it there to see what it would look like if I wanted to cover these black railings with the willow. And I did see at the garden centre today some willow that would fit perfectly along the rectangular railing of the wall, just to make that look a bit softened up a little bit and make it look a little bit more pretty. So I do have 2 of those railings at the house, and people always ask me about them and say, what is down there? Now down there, so this is the basement flat. I'll just lift up so you can see it's a one big townhouse. So this probably would have been one house back in the day. And my apartment is the basement. And then below there is another apartment, and I don't think anybody lives there because I've never seen anybody there, and the curtains have been closed for 3 years whilst I've lived here. They've never been open once. And the way that you get to that apartment is through the main front door of the building, and you go down 2 flights of stairs. So what people don't know is that I actually have 2 entrances to my flat. I have this entrance here that you can see, and also I have an internal entrance through the main front door, but I don't really use that one. I just like to have my own private entrance here. Another thing that people often ask me about are these external doors in the terrace, and people have asked me whether these are other people's front doors, and no, these are just storage spaces. So these are my 3 storage spaces. They're locked up, and inside they're all dry-walled so that everything's nice and dry in there, and it's really useful because I've got lots of china and old furniture that I'm not really using in there, and it's a great storage space. So that is what that is. On the walls here you can see that we have some ferns growing out, and I just think they are so charming, and I'm definitely going to keep those and not take them out the wall because I think they're very pretty. But yes, I do love having this little space. I've got my 2 windows and the door, and I think my house looks like a little cottage. I really like that it's like a little cottage. So I would like to make this sort of like a cottage garden. Now for this back wall here, this is quite a dingy, dark area, and I've been thinking about what to do with this space. My neighbour next door, by the way, my neighbour next door just happens to be a lady called Barbara Dixon. I'm not sure whether you know who she is, but she was quite a famous singer back in the 1980s. So that is quite a fun fact. She's my neighbour, and she's got the most beautiful garden, and she sometimes helps me out with advice. So she was saying that because this is such a dark area, it does get some light from here, and also in the afternoon the sun faces directly into there. So I would probably need some shade-loving plants, but what I was thinking of doing was maybe building a wall along the whole length of there, either out of stone or just with wooden planters, and just creating like a border garden there with shaded plants and things like that, because otherwise it's a bit of a grim little space, and I would like to make it a little bit more pretty. So if anybody's got any ideas, please do send them across in the comments, and I'll be happy to consider them. And now I'm just going to get on with planting up these things. Sophie looks so cute with her haircut. She always makes me laugh when she looks so sweet. And just say hello to Peggy. Hello, Peggy. Hello. Are you okay? Yes. So that is all of my planting done, and I have to say I'm really happy with the way that it looks. It kind of does remind me of a little English cottage garden. Foxgloves are so typical of what you see in the Cotswolds, in the beautiful English gardens, so I've always loved having them, and I just like the unruly beauty of them. And when they start to flower, they've already started here at the bottom, you can see, so when they start to flower at the top, there will be a trumpet of beauty. And then here we have the lavender. I hope that spaces out and fills out. I did try to split them, but I didn't want to break the roots too much. Peggy and Sophie have been the best companions whilst I've been gardening. They're very well behaved. So, and then I also decided to move the topiary up there into the little corner with the window boxes, which I need to spruce up as well. So I'm just thinking about what I can do next. I'm just going to zoom out so you can see more of the width of the garden. I'm thinking of, in this corner here where that bench is, to have quite a large potted tree. I'm trying to decide what tree to get. Probably an olive tree, because I've seen quite a few olive trees around Edinburgh. My friend Vanessa's got one outside her door. She's got two, and they seem to last really well, and they're hardy in the winter without dying, and they're evergreen. So a big potted tree there. I want it to be quite tall, taller than that railing, so that you can sit underneath it and it feels like a real garden. So that is what I would like to have there. Probably going to be expensive, but I think worth it to enjoy the garden. And yeah, just in summertime, when you work outside and you can sit out and enjoy your efforts, it really is the most rewarding experience. But I have to say, I'm really happy in my little house. It brings me so much joy and pleasure. And I think that is all one can expect from a house, is for it to bring you joy. So I'm very happy with these tiny little changes. What I will say is that gardening is very expensive. I mean, I bought those two plants, the pots and the lavender, and I spent over £100. So if you've got a big garden, it really must cost a lot of money to do. But I think it's worth it because it just enhances your life and makes you feel so happy and full. So yes, the garden is a little bit more spruced. I am going to keep adding things to it as I go along, as expense becomes available. I think I am going to get the trellis for the railings because that will just really soften that up. So yes, my little garden. Hope you like it. So these are the 4 prints that I'm talking about, and these are botanicals that I got from a charity shop back in the Cotswolds in about 2017. The frames were dark wood and I painted them. So it's not that I don't dislike them, I just thought that the ones that I'm going to show you now are much more kitchen appropriate, and also I've kind of gone off botanical prints a little bit. So even though I do think they're pretty, I want to try something else. So I'm going to replace them. Luckily the new ones fit exactly in there inside the mount, and they look really great because I held them up yesterday. Also, Magnus the fern is having a water, so what I do, I put him into the sink and I let the tap run for about 3 minutes until he's really heavy, and then I let him drain in there for about 15 minutes, and that is his little routine. And I do that about every 10 to 12 days, and he's really thriving. So for everybody who's been asking me about Magnus, he's a blue star fern. He's really grown since I had him. I didn't really notice at first because you see him every day, but then when I look back at photos I can see how much he's grown. So he really just thrives in this apartment. He sits in the window, gets watered every 10 to 12 days. Sometimes I might mist him too, but he seems to be very happy. Magnus. So let me show you the prints that I bought. So last weekend I was with friends in Northumberland and they took me to one of their favourite antique stores. And whilst I was in there, I spotted these. So these are little charming prints of eggs. And I just really liked the muted tones. There's browns and earthy tones in there. And I just thought that they would be great for that wall in the kitchen to replace the botanicals. So these are what they look like. And they were supposed to be £5 each. But very kindly, the lady who owns the store watches this channel. So when I walked in, we had a little bit of a chat, and she was telling me how she'd been watching since the lockdown, and she gave them to me for a discount. So I only paid £10 for the 4, which is a great bargain and a really nice memento of these prints. So whenever I look at them, I will think of her. So thank you. And I just thought these were really charming, classic. And for such a great price, they're going to make a real difference to the kitchen and spruce it up a little bit. And that's what I've been doing a lot lately, is just doing small things around the house, just to make changes and just to jazz everything up a little bit. And I really do find great pleasure in that, as I'm sure you can understand. Our homes are so important to us, and looking after them and doing beautiful things for them is very uplifting and restorative, I think. So yes, I'm going to frame these up and hang them back on the wall. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that you have enjoyed this episode. If you do enjoy this channel and watch regularly, I would kindly ask if you could subscribe and hit the bell button so that you are notified every time I upload a video. Your subscription really means the world to me, so if you enjoy this channel, I would really appreciate that. Also, if you would like to find out more from me, I do have a monthly newsletter. It is completely free, and if you want to sign up to that, you can do so on nicolasfairford.com. And it comes out at the beginning of every single month and is just filled with inspiration, beautiful things. I do a book of the month, a fragrance of the month, and I just share some beautiful things with you, and it is completely free. So do check that out on nicolasfairford.com. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I look forward to seeing you next time. But until then, take care. Bye-bye.